I'm very excited for this series of StarCraft 2. It was played about a week ago and I've been patiently waiting for the replays to become available. Well, today is that day. We're in the upper left-hand corner, playing in blue. We have the highest ranked Zerg player on the planet. The overall rank 1 in the world. We have Serral. His opponent down in the bottom right. The highest ranked Terran, the number 2 in the world. We're looking inside of the main base of Clem. Clem takes on Serral in the RSL playoffs. Now, of course, they have played against each other a couple of times. Most recently, at least the one that I remember. Now, this definitely was the most recent time they played against one another. Before this particular match was in the Home Story Cup Grand Finals. Very good games, very entertaining. But now the patch has had a little bit of time to sit. I think everybody has gotten used to the way that things are now run, or at the very least things have become somewhat more standardized. So we'll find out together exactly what ended up going down between the two very best players in all of StarCraft. We are starting off on Fear and Faith. It's a map with a very cursed wall off, so you don't really need a whole lot of structures. Clem, though, is immediately going to be jumping into a command center first, enjoying the 300 minerals that it now costs. Serral, likewise, also opting for a quick hatchery here. This is a map with 4 spawn locations, so it's going to be difficult for the Zerg player to really scout out and really go for any sort of like early game cheese, right? And that's kind of the problem you run into. Command Center first is going to be pretty safe here because it's unlikely that Zerg is going to be committing to anything aggressive on a 4-player map. It's also kind of out of character. It's going to be hatch, into pool, into gas geyser right here. And we'll have a barracks right now after the barrack, or after the depot rather, and then the command center as well. Will we go into another gas? That's kind of the question. Right now, there seems to be a little bit of debate in the Terran community as to when, yeah, you take literally anything else. You could, I think, theoretically skip your gases until your 4th command center starts up. So this is still entirely gasless. It means that he cannot afford a Reaper. 3rd command center already coming up long before the Zerg is even considering making a 3rd base. Serral's now gonna start up 2 queens. Yep, they're coming up. And then we're also blindly going for Zerglings because, well, just in case there's a Reaper coming in, you do need some sort of unit here for base defense. And then after that, when the larvae run out, that's when we see maybe a 3rd hatchery going down. So this is a much faster 3rd. Clem right now, though, going double gas on the back of this. I'm guessing he is going to be able to get a factory going here eventually, but this is a pretty greedy start. The idea, of course, is to really maximize the amount of workers that he can produce early on and maximize the amount of energy he can get on an orbital command, so more mules can mine throughout the entirety of the game. And I think he's already gotten away with it. Serral has now confirmed that it's a cross-spawn location, so we've had the overlords checking the naturals of the alternative spawn locations, and that, of course, now eliminates the other 2. So Serral will know, okay, my opponent is all the way across the map, and Clem is going to be able to get away with this greed pretty nicely. Zerg will also know at this point that it's likely a fast 3rd command center, or at the very least some sort of CC first, because he hasn't seen any units. Even a delayed Reaper would have shown up by now. None of that is the case. We have a very greedy build, though. So it's 3 Marines in total. I guess these are really just here to stop any sort of scouting unit from, yeah, potentially going in. But this is 3 Marines. Oh, and then into double factory. So Clem is going to be playing a little bit of Terran mech. We have been seeing this more as of late. Terran mech does seem to be very popular now, but it's certainly, yeah, not a common enough style for this, I think, at least, to be considered the standard. Maybe it will become the standard over the next few weeks. But Terran mech really has not been popular for the last few years. If even Clem, though, is going to be prioritizing it here in the first game of the series, I'm assuming at least that will mean that it's making a very strong comeback. Because Clem is known as a bit of a micro machine. Extremely good at micro marines in particular, but apparently we're not doing that here. So this should be good old Cyclone Hellion. I wonder how Serral is going to be reacting to this. So he will not know until a little bit later. Although he frequently does go into a blind Roach Warren, even against a bio-based army as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see that coming up in just a moment. Going full Ling Bane against this, though, would be kind of tricky, but here's the Overlord Scout. Yeah, Serral doesn't really need to see much more than this. He's got another OV as well on the other end, but he decides to back up with that one too. He's seen the third command center. He has seen more than one factory. So Lair coming up together with a Roach Warren. Evo Chamber right now too. Okay. And now I guess we dance. Now we dance for greed. Will Clem be able to get damage done with the Hellions? How many drones is Serral going to be able to get away with? Can Clem potentially snipe a fourth hatch? Those will be the things that are going through his mind right now. Worker-wise, Zerg is now caught up to the Terran, but obviously the mule production is already well underway. And Clem is feeling pretty darn good, I think, about how things are going so far. One of the big problems you also do run into with a Terran player here that's focused on mech is when do you make the transition towards siege tanks? Because if you go full Hellion Cyclone, obviously at some point you can't run anymore, right? If the roaches force you all the way back home or you take one fungal growth, you have to make the choice at some point to swap away from this much more mobile mech army to one that actually has a little bit more of a backbone, right? You need something that can actually defend. For now, though, this is all safe. Very quick blue flame, by the way. It's very common for players to go for a lot of Hellions, just like Clem is doing right here, but then to not get the blue flame upgrade until much later. The idea being is that you really only make Hellions as like a mineral dump. So you just make a Hellion whenever you have leftover money. Gas being the main bottleneck, and, well, the blue flame upgrade, Infernal Pre-Igniter, does cost a little bit of gas. So Terrans sometimes hesitate a little bit with that research, but now we just have immediately more reactors coming up. Starport will be done as well momentarily. But for now, I think Clem is not really even looking to deal a lot of damage. He's happy to just roam the map, get rid of some of the creep, but really make sure that his own economy is really strong. This is scary, though, because these are now blue flame, right? Blue flame Hellions absolutely destroy a mineral line. Here's the secondary attack as well on the left in the meantime. Queens will probably die. Serral will lose at least one of them. He's still busy dancing against the small run-by over here on the right side. And that's 3 queens falling. Only 4 Hellions thus far have gone down. All of this is looking incredible for Clem. Raven even added into the mix. I think the Raven is just here as a mobile detector, although anti-armor missile is also very handy. The thing is that the lock-on of the Cyclone is really your main damage output at this stage in the game. And it's considered a spell in StarCraft 2, so anti-armor missile, it doesn't really do anything against that sort of thing. The spell damage is always flat, so I really think that this is really just for, detection. So you can scan a little bit less frequently, get rid of all the creep tumors. And so far, dare I say it, oh my god, these are dead roaches. So far, Serral is getting destroyed. His economy is still okay, but I don't really like this position for him at all. There is a little bit of a Zergling run-by, apparently. But Clem has got a better economy. Clem's got a better army. Clem's got effectively all the tools that he needs. Still, though, this is Serral we're talking about, and he seems to have come up with a plan. As a matter of fact, I think the plan is surrounding this Terran army. Anti-armor missile will indeed go down. That's a lot of roaches affected by it. That means that the Hellions will do significantly better too, and so will the Banshee. But yeah, I don't really think there's enough here for the Zerg player anyways. This is messy though here for Clem. I think he lost more than he was supposed to. Now the tunneling claw is complete as well. That's going to allow those roaches to move around while burrowed. Man, the Raven is actually such a good addition here. Yeah, what is the Zerg going to do? I mean, maybe you can still tunnel some roaches around the side of the map. Maybe the original plan was just to get rid of some creep tumors, but Clem is having a pretty good time here. The lock-on isn't even really going to be cancelled when you burrow, apparently, when there's vision like that. Okay, couple more Hellions yet again on the right side. We're now going into the speed upgrade as well for the Banshee. 4th command center in the meantime is done. There is a pesky Zergling denying it. So Hyperfight Rotors is going to make the Banshees a little bit quicker, and I don't think it's a bad choice at all. Because obviously, Banshees are absolutely phenomenal against roach-based armies. Serral did not go for a fast hive. So it's not like he's going to have Vipers here available really soon. He did make an infestation pit just now, so we can go into a hive and maybe some infestors. But really, he's planning on sending it with roaches. Is there enough for Clem to defend against what is effectively now a very committed push with pure roach? I don't think I like this attack for Serral very much. He's clearly committed to it, though. Yeah, I feel like you kind of have to... I mean, you have to shove forward at some point. This is hardly a unit you want to be maxing out on, but doesn't Clem already have all of the tools that he needs to just defend against this? He's making 2 Banshees at once, by the way. Full battle mech here for the Frenchman. Hyperflight rotors, that's the speed upgrade, is nearly finished. Planetary Fortress done over at the 4th. I don't believe there's a whole lot that Serral can do against this. Yeah, and maybe you would have made life easier if you added on some siege tanks. But I guess this will still work out perfectly fine. So what's the goal here for Serral? What are we trying to achieve? What's the win condition? Because that attack, while, I mean, it did deal a little bit of damage, it does not give you any sort of momentum at all. Anti-armor missile yet again. It is good for just the basic attack right here of those Cyclones. I wouldn't have minded this if Serral was already at Hive and he was trying to, like, get a Greater Spire out, for example, and... Okay, he was just trying to get up to Brute Lords, buying a bit of time here and there, but this game did not go according to plan for Serral at all. Clem absolutely destroyed him. GG. I think that Raven, that one Raven that Clem built, completely threw Serral off. Clem must have realized that as soon as Serral sees that it's, well, Battle Mech, right? That's what we call that Cyclone, Hellion, Banshee-based army. Serral will usually go into tunnel-clawed roaches. You make one Raven. Well, you do also have to catch the units that are trying to tunnel across the map. But you make one Raven, and suddenly... Well, apparently there was no momentum for the Zerg anymore at all. Beautiful game right there by Clem. And now suddenly he's got the freedom, I think, to go command center first every single time. Right? Because now you're 1-0 up in the match. Is Serral really going to pull first from behind? I doubt it. Clem apparently is going to go for a barracks up on the high ground instead. Fair enough. We are, by the way, on Voidstorm. This is a map that only gets played in the RSL. It's a very pretty map. I don't really know what's going on, but there's a lot of, I don't know, energy orbs, a lot of geometrical shapes. A lot of pipes. Don't really know what's happening there. But it is a nice looking map at the very least. Big healing shrine as well right over here in the middle. Could be something we make use of. Dude, I actually missed this during the special versus Serral cast that I did a few days ago. In case you haven't seen those games yet. It was really, really good. But Serral ends up getting Battlecruiser rushed by special. And on a Rorschach, there's a healing shrine as well at the bottom of the map. At some point, Serral gets the Neural Parasite on Special's Cyclones. And what he does is he drives them into the healing shrine when it's about to run out. And he knows he can't kill them anymore. So I guess he just decided to give his opponent full HP Cyclones back for free? I don't know why he specifically did that, but it was pretty funny. Somebody commented down below in the comment section on YouTube. I quite enjoyed that. Seeing Serral purposefully send his opponent's Cyclone through Neural Parasite into the healing shrine. It's the polite thing to do, you know? If you're gonna borrow your opponent's Cyclones... Right, look, if you borrow, I don't know, a pan or a grill or something from the neighbors, at least clean it when you return it, right? I guess it's the polite thing to do. You gotta be a gentlemanly gamer. Alright. Reaper going across. Command center now on the low ground. Factory inside of the main. This is all extremely conventional. Oh, nice body block. Not bad. Ooh. Both players move commanding away at the exact same moment. The finals, by the way, of the RSL this time around will get played at BlizzCon. It's one of the reasons why we've seen some of the big names signing up for this particular tournament. I don't believe Serral had played in an RSL before, but I guess he likes the idea, at the very least, of a trip to the United States. Can't blame the man. It would be kind of crazy, actually, if you have, like, a Blizzard fest, right? Like, if you have a Blizzard convention, where your games are some of the most popular esports around, and then for some reason you don't have the highest ranked players of StarCraft at your con? Wow, what were we even trying to do, Clem? Clem was trying to play the 700 IQ Reaper jump up, whereas Serral literally had just parked the Zerglings there. That's all he did. Clem was like, he must have left by now. I'm gonna jump back up. Oh no, he hasn't. Okay, I'll go back down. He must have left by now, though. A little bit unlucky. Benchy, coming up yet again. So this is now a 2 command center, 1-1-1. 2 command center, 1-1-1. After an extremely greedy triple CC mech build. This is a hyper-aggressive strategy that will likely lead towards Terran bio. I'm curious to see if Clem is going to be adding on a 3rd command center or if he's going to add on additional barracks. Yeah, he's already going the additional barracks. So this is now a 3-1-1. 3 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport on just 1 command center. Now you kind of, yeah, change the way that the matchup gets played, right? Now you kind of have to deal some sort of damage as the Terran. Because Zerg is going to be able to skyrocket ahead in economy as soon as you let go of the pressure. 3rd hatchery already done for Serral. Going quick +1 carapace. This has become very popular on the new patch. The +1 carapace is 50 minerals and 50 gas cheaper. It is now the go-to choice in pretty much all scenarios. Now this is awesome though here for Serral. Yeah, he made enough Zerglings to go in for a run-by while simultaneously defending as well against the Hellions at home. Now the other pack of Lynx is chasing down the Hellions that are trying to defend as well. You gotta be careful here as Clem. Don't lose the Hellions. If you lose the Hellions, you may as well GG out, man. Oh, God. Well, at least he's gonna get paid for it, but this is really rough. Because now, look, it's not even that this stage in the game becomes really hard to play. He's gonna be able to clean those Lynx up. It's just that now, Zerg gets to do whatever they like. And what do they like initially? 9 drones, all at the same time. We have a lair coming up. Serral doesn't have any defensive unit anymore. It's because he doesn't need it. He's got 1 Zergling out, 6 queens. He's going to be able to effectively now trampoline ahead. And it's not so much the loss of the Hellions that sucks, right? That's just like 4, maybe 500 minerals or so, depending on how many you have. But it's now the momentum that goes so heavily in favor of the opponent. So how do we catch up? We got to slow things down. You gotta get yourself a whole lot of command centers to justify this. Cloak Banshees show up. Spore Crawler was already built. Serral, for some reason, taking the 3rd base as the lair. Doesn't really matter all too much, but I always think it's kind of funny. We even have a safety Spore Crawler. Clem trying to get some damage done on it. Serral will go just for a single transfusion. Moves this one over to what seems to be the 4th base. We have an Overseer coming up. Not a single drone really here. Okay, he does get 2. 3? Yeah. I mean, Clem's still maximizing the possible damage he could get, right? Like, at least there's something. He's going to stumble upon the opponent's 4th hatchery right now. And I think he'll be pretty unhappy. Look at the work account at this stage in the game. I don't think this is really playable if you are going up against the world's #1 Zerg. You need to now effectively deal damage with these type of attacks. And it's got potential, right? But you have no idea what you're marching towards. There could be Banelings, there could be Burrow, there could be Roaches. There could just be a ridiculous amount of Zerglings waiting for you. There could be 12 Queens. You're just basically crossing your fingers right now as the Terran player and hoping that it's gonna work out in your favor. This is still a scary attack, though. New hatchery already coming up on the right. Serral actually decides to play this incredibly safely as he gives up on the 4th base altogether. In his mind, though, he's trading a 4th base for slowing down his opponent's 3rd while rebuilding an alternative 4th, right? Sometimes not fighting is the best choice you can make, even when you are ahead. And I think in this particular game, or in this particular case, rather, it is certainly the right play. Why take the gamble? The Spore Crawler, by the way, also has been migrated. They got a little bit of personalized creep from the one Overlord. A couple mules here end up dying as well. Man, this is going from bad to worse right now for Clem. Yeah, Serral's just denying him. If Clem can get another snipe on a hatch, this may work out eventually. There are, however, already infestors out, and yep, this is the first time that Clem sees them. Siege tanks are dying, marines are dying, and while he does retarget onto at least one of them, he does get rid of one of them. This is still a pretty chunky amount of Terran. Clem actually pulling a rabbit out of a hat. He could probably not even really believe his own luck. Kills the Overlord, kills the Spore Crawler, kills the Hatchery, most importantly too. Zergling run by attempted. Second factory coming up right now at the front. Okay. Yeah, and sometimes playing too safely is also not a good choice. Right? Serral made what is maybe theoretically the right call. But then you can't really make a mistake on the back of it as well. That's one of those things where if you were to put the game on a graph, right? If you were to plot the perfect goal, then I guess it would have been the correct choice. But that is also assuming you're a machine. And that was not quite as good there for the Zerg as you wanted it to be. So now Clem actually has a chance to get back into this game. Oh, beautiful shots with the siege tanks. Microbial Shroud here onto the infestors to try and keep this around. Big fungal on the marines as well, but not enough links to really get the follow-up. Serral is gonna have another advantage though when he gets up towards Ultralisks. Yeah, has to be his main go-to plan right now, but we're still a couple minutes away from them being upgraded and them being out. Looks like this third time on a fourth hatchery may also not work out. Although now Serral is setting up a lot of units. He's also got a surround imminent, it seems. Fungal growth will be his main goal. Lings going in around the back. Fungal growth around the front. Not quite. Okay, there we go. It's a little hard to see. But that is now the end of this particular Terran push. And while the Liberators were here as well to provide a little bit of freedom, I think that it's probably time for Clem to go home, although apparently he doesn't like that idea very much. There is a giant counterattack here as well. A big set of reinforcing units. Clem is not giving up on this at all. I wonder if he's actually overextending a bit. Zergling run by once more. Serral absolutely relentless with those. Now he gets a good number of kills. There is another fungal available over here. Auto attack right there from the infestor. Still a little bit cursed. No way to pick up the units that are affected by fungal growth. Larry, the accidental swarm host, will be joining us as well in just a moment. Everybody say hello to Larry. Another infestor coming up. Chitinous plating has turned out to be too expensive. Larry, I choose you. Larry, use Locust. Ooh, good split right there against the one Widowmine. True fans of Larry always hit the like button. That's what I've been told anyways. Where's Larry gonna go? Oh, Larry's on the counterattack. Dude, it's so funny. When you see top players accidentally make a swarm host, pretty much all of them just kind of forget that they have it. Serral consistently sends it across the map for a little bit of harassment. I think that's what we're doing right now. May as well get some value, I guess. Liberator here denying this base on the right side of the map. Liberators over here also doing a good job. And what's really sweet about the Liberators is that this is before Ultras are out, right? And against Ultras, they're just about the perfect choice. Ooh. One of them does get... no, actually, that was a medevac here. One of them does get shot down. Hatchery here on the right side in a world of trouble. Another Zergling run by attempted, but good Widowmine positioning here, preventing that from being a big issue. Here's the reinforcing Marines, Marauders, and Mines over on the right side of the map. Ultras are out right now. We have Queens with transfusions. Not enough creep, though, to really get these units within range. Okay, Microbial Shroud on the Queens to try and get rid of two Liberators. You know what? That wasn't even a consideration I made. Pretty good, though. Microbial Shroud really is finding its groove now. I still think the ability is actually too good. I wouldn't be surprised, man, if it gets proven over the next couple of months that the ability is absolutely busted. It's so incredibly good. It's so easy to get now. Larry, what are you doing? Okay, he's on vacation. I wanted to check in with my pal Larry for just a moment. I don't think he's really done very much. Somebody, though, that has been putting in the work is Clem. Clem was incredibly far behind. He doesn't have a good answer against the Ultras just yet, especially with Microbial Shroud. But Clem has been putting in some phenomenal time here. And this is why the man is so ridiculously dangerous, right? He was like, what, 25 workers behind against Serral at like minute 6? That's horrible. That's like the absolute worst case scenario for Terran. Your attack doesn't really get any damage done. But then all the moves past that. Okay, well, you know what? Maybe I started cheering a little too early, but jeez Louise. Clem just lost like 40 supply while I was yapping about how amazing he was. Sorry about that, Clem. I think they call that the caster curse. Not ideal. Just a few corruptors. Really nice to have in. There are a lot of Widow Mines still on idle on the right side of the map. Serral now has this base secured, trying to also start mining here at the very bottom of the map. Not a lot of creep in this area. I feel like that should be one of the main priorities. Widow Mines actually got picked up. Hatchery is going to try and build itself up, but that's not going to happen. Widow Mine drop over here now on the right side of the map. Good number of drones are falling. Zergling run by as well on the left. Okay. And this is effectively the Zerg player trying to keep this Terran at home. Right? That's been his main goal for the last 8 minutes. Just stay home, Clem. All I'm trying to do is get my upgrades going. All I'm trying to do is get a big economy out. Just let me macro for a bit. Clem decided that he didn't like the idea very much, and I can't blame him. Clem doesn't have a huge economy, though, and that's the big problem here. Larry has a confirmed kill, by the way. I didn't quite catch the Locust flying through, but he does have one confirmed kill. Bailing speed, by the way, super late. Zergling run by yet again, together this time around with an Ultralisk and an Overseer, so they get a bit more damage done. Fungal, big Fungal. Yeah, and that's why the Ultras are so bloody good, right? Ultras by themselves, easy to counter, but in combination with Infestors, it's just incredible. Dude, is that the corpse of an Ultralisk? Covering about half my screen? Ultras also are just much easier to defend these kind of attacks with. With Lingbane, you have to be very sweaty about microing it, and while obviously Marauders can get the job done, it's a lot more effort for the Terran to try and clean all of these units up. Ideally, you get Liberators and Ghosts out, but Clem has still just been sitting on 55 SCVs. We are not really in a situation, because of the early game, where Clem feels like he can play the big macro game. I think there was an opportunity for him to transition towards that, though, but he chose not to. He chose instead to focus on massive unit production instead, and I wonder if Serral is ultimately sweeping the floor out underneath Clem here, because he's got a huge eco right now, right? He's got 76 workers. He's mining just substantially more than Clem is, and Clem also has the inferior unit composition. Yeah, GG gets gold. This got extremely close, but Serral does get the job done. And that will take us to Necropolis. Game number 3 in this best of 5 series. The score has been all tied up. Across the board, I gotta say, Clem is playing some more impressive StarCraft than Serral is. The scoreboard doesn't really reflect that, but honestly, game number 1 was extremely dominant from the Frenchman. And game number 2, likewise, also very dominant if you take away losing all the Hellions in the early game by accident. Right? Like, that was the easy part of the game. Serral, yeah, pulled a bit of a quick one on him, and ultimately won because of it, but Clem still made that ridiculously close, despite the fact that he was like 30 workers behind for what seemed like half the game. So let's see. Let's see what we can do right now. If the game was even remotely more even, I think Clem would have, yeah, dominated game 2 as well. At least it was getting that vibe. The Reaper did die in game number 1, but apparently on that map, that little Reaper ledge may be bugged. So maybe we can forgive the man. Triple command center build. Good old triple CC off of just a single refinery. Very quick follow-up here as well. Clem actually not even opting to go into some additional factory units now. Apparently, yeah, we are so excited about making the CC that we don't even bother with Hellions just yet. Now he can finally afford 2 of them. Yep. So now he begins. That's very greedy, though. So this is a 3cc 111, but it's like the absolute greediest edition of it. The amount of Hellions here are going to be a little bit confusing, I think, for the Zerg. Serral's going to look at that. He will assume that there's already Hellions out. Like, he will have paid attention to the minimap by now, and he's going to notice, yep, only here is when the first Hellion, 4 minutes and 15-ish seconds of the in-game time, right, on the in-game clock, is when the first Hellions drive by. What does that mean? This will be the type of thing, though, that Serral will likely figure out. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he already is familiar with all the new timings, despite the 8-worker start and the cheaper command center and all the rest of it. It takes a little bit of learning. But this is where the pro gamers are usually extremely good. He may also just be able to play based on vibes. This is something I'm personally extremely bad at. Playing anything based on vibes alone. But professionals, they tend to be able to do it. Okay, he sees the big switcheroos. Overlord is going to YOLO in. It will die. He wanted to maybe have a little peek at the gases, but that's not going to happen. Gets a creep tumor as well over here on the creep, so... yeah, I don't think this is all too bad here for Clem at all. He's gotten away with a bit of greed. He has kept the Zerg economy at least somewhat honest. This is not really the type of 1-1-1 where you're planning on jumping the opponent's mineral line. We've kind of moved past that point already. Banshee, though, is going to try and put in a bit of work. Cloak is going to be done here. Look at the timing on the Spore Crawler. It's like 2 seconds late! Okay, never mind. It was perfect. It's actually kind of funny, right? Like, how tight? Like, we're so used to those little moves. You know how precise you have to be with your Spore Crawler timings in order to, like, get him to finish right at the correct moment? Because this is map dependent, right? Like, the travel time of the Banshee has to be taken into consideration. It's not that easy. Great scan over here for Clem. Gets rid of a ton of creep tumors. Serral, though, is going to try and take matters into his own hand. Oh, this is also good here for the finisher. Gets 1 Banshee. Banshees are so important to keep alive. Likewise, the Queens are very important. Oh, loses 2 Banshees. Okay. Oh, transfusions! Brenda coming in clutch! Brenda was actually going to go out with a transfusion of her own, but that little sequence was absolutely amazing for Serral. 2 Banshees down. Look, it sucks because you lose all map presence, and even though they would likely die later on in the game as well, they're just so nice to have at home in case there's like a Zergling run by later on in the game, or you just park them on the left side somewhere and you can swoop into a mineral line deeper into the game too, potentially still get a half dozen kills, right? The Banshees are maybe they're not quite like oracles, but it's really nice to keep them alive. Serral's got to grab full map control here momentarily. Second factory inside of the main base. So there's a curious timing on the second factory. This is second factory before barracks 4 and 5 are done. I'm not sure. Maybe he really wants to get the Widowmine production out, and I guess that's the plan here, right? Get that Drilling Claws research out ASAP. Serral wanted to go for a bunch of mutas, and he did make 7 of them, but he was also forced to make Banelings now. Nicely done. Yeah, and this will be the time when he realizes, okay, mutas are out. He wants to be aggressive, because the last thing you want to do is give up the map control, but you have to be so careful. It's become very popular for Zerg players now, too, to get the burrow research with this. And if you obviously now have a couple burrowed Banelings over here, it's just so incredibly dangerous. I kind of think you should probably research burrow just because of that fact. Because you grab map control with it effectively. Clem cannot really scan that frequently. This push should probably go home. Yeah, the Marines are also getting creep all over their boots. I don't think you want it, man. Like, they're gonna come home and they're gonna drag it all through the living room. I feel kind of bad. Maybe they take their shoes off when they enter the supply depot, but I bet you most of them don't. 2-2 coming up right now for Clem, who apparently is happy to still sit out there. Widowmine. No Overlord speed done yet, so yeah, it's a bit difficult for him to get this within range. Mutas haven't really achieved that much, though. Clem is still out on the map. Normally, in a regular game of ZVT, when Zerg gets Mutas out, Zerg also gets map control. Look at the minimap right now. It's like there's not even a Muta army out there anywhere. Now, is Clem gonna get punished for it? That's the question. Those Mutas have really only killed a refinery and a handful of workers. Really not that much. Counter-attack here as well on the right side of the map. Dude, Clem is so bloody good at StarCraft. Pushing again as well on the left. Mostly just distracting. No cancel by Serral. So that's the full cost of the hatchery down the drain. This is all pricey. I mean, it's gonna get cleaned up. But Clem just bought so much time for himself. Now that he's ready to properly fight the Mutas... Oh, he never got Drilling Claws. That's kind of ironic. He was definitely supposed to get Drilling Claws done. Did not research it yet. I guess he maybe gotten a little bit carried away. But anyways, Clem not only managed to defend with ease at home, he also forced a ton of Baneling production, which means less Mutas. And then simultaneously, he killed a hatchery too. Like, this is one of those sequences here for Clem that makes a lot of sense in theory. But then if you were to give it a shot yourself, you'll probably die. It's so easy to accidentally step into Banelings. 2-2, by the way. Done. Normally, Terran's maxed out. Not quite the case in this instance, but this is such a powerful Terran bio army right now. Really, the only thing here are the Banelings. Really, the only thing here that can stop this Terran army is Banelings. Double stim right here for Clem, though. Did he overextend in the end? He's not reinforcing in this area, by the way. He's reinforcing towards the left side flank yet again. These units, they're just trying to maximize the amount of value they're getting, but the real threat is coming in from the reinforcing army over here on the left. You have to be careful. Widow Mines. Oh, they're retargeting. He's getting all the Banelings because he manually retargeted with those Widow Mines. Here go the Mutas yet again. Ooh, picks up just barely last second. Splits off one empty medevac. Which medevac are the Marines in? You got the wrong answer twice, Serral. Reinforcing army now on the right. Serral does see with a group of changelings that this is where the next army is headed. 5th Command Center coming up. Factory number 3. Drilling Claws now added into the mix. That should have been done already. Widow Mines here trying their absolute best. Yeah, nobody plays Terran like this, man. And I'm still half afraid that we're gonna see him take the biggest Widow Mine hits or the biggest Baneling hits of his life. And that things are gonna go horribly wrong for Terran. But so far, that hasn't really been the case yet. Serral, though, ready to strike back. His Muta numbers are now sufficient to actually take on small groups of Widow Mines and Marines by themselves, which is a really big deal. He's also going +2 flyer attacks. He's going into a hive. Okay, let's see. The creep spread has been hindered massively. We have a empty hatchery right over here in the bottom left, not surrounded by any of its creep, so that does make the game a lot more difficult. The new barracks need to be hotkeyed as well. They gotta get some reactors on them. I think he also lost a barracks earlier, although he did already make it, I guess. He may have already remade it. Yeah, right now, though, there's enough Zerg to be splitting up their army, too, and to still be fighting these individual forces here of the Terran. So, while all of the Mutas here get targeted down, it's gonna be difficult to take these bases. Assuming at least Serral heads on north. He doesn't know, he doesn't see, he's not been scouting that direction on the map for a while. This is Clem definitely stressing the multitasking. A little bit of first-person view. This is what Clem is looking at while playing the game. So this is what nearly 500 actions per minute look like. It is pretty scary. You can see his selections in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So he will be microing simultaneously as well on the mini-map. That's why some of the units are still moving on the right side. Yeah, it's beautiful. Getting the Widow Mines burrowed. Hitting the Queens whenever possible. Army again on the left side now, checked in. New command center gets added into the mix. Hatchery on the right side did not quite die, but the Marines are running away. Massive Widow Mine hit. That is endorphins to the max right there for any Terran player. Not getting greedy on the left though, only letting a few Marines stand on the creep and actually fight that army. What about the Planetary Fortress counterattack? Let's look at what Serral is paying attention to whilst playing the game. Not nearly as frantically scrolling his screen around. He will be able to kill the command center over there too. But there is a massive Terran army now knocking at his third base. Hatchery is taking a lot of damage. Hatchery does end up going down. Serral does have a lot of banelings available, but they were not in the right place at the right time. Front door right now of Clem, though, is wide open. Is it bait? It turns out to be bait. There's a Thor. He decides to back off. Serral has still not found the base in the upper right. And this is starting to be hurtful. He does not know about the extra expansion that's mining for Clem. It's a free pickoff. But the finisher does not know. He's gonna stumble upon it now. He sees it now for the very first time. And he'll be like, oh man, what? How long has this been up here for? Okay. At least it's extremely disjointed. Very quick target firing as well into one of the missile turrets. I'll go ahead and grab control of the camera again. 29 SCVs have died though during all of this. Counterattack yet again from Clem. Double stimming by accident. Has to pick up. Get on out of there. There's a big batch of mutas. And while orbital commands and planetary fortresses are nice, you do also just need actual space, right? And that's exactly what Serral's occupying so well now. He's got an Infestor together with an Ultralisk coming in. Okay, displating already done. Adrenal glands already finished. +3 armor for the infantry units forgotten right here for Clem. That is a pretty significant loss. Obviously, this has been such a high-paced game that he hasn't really been able to go back home and check. He's gone Thor's right now to really get rid of the mutas. Serral's still making mutas, surprisingly enough. I kind of assumed he would make the switch on over towards Brute Lords, or Brute Lords towards Ultras right about right now, but that's not the case. Still spending the majority of his gas on the little flippy flappies. The +3 being forgotten here for Clem is a big deal. Likewise, Serral really needs to fire up the +3 melee. I think it's probably intentional, though, for the Zerg. But for the Terran, you usually build both of those upgrades at the same time. So there's a real chance that he's not going to check back until he's planning to go building armor. It means that all of those fights, though, are going to be pretty decent here for the Zerg. Especially once Ultralisks join in. Ultras are fully upgraded. So far, though, the +3 melee missing as well for the Zerg is nullifying a lot of it. Neither player really getting an advantage because of the upgrade situation. Nice dance here yet again by Clem, dude. Oof. We have a Zergling run by again all the way up north. Clem, though, trying his absolute best to be as far away as possible. These pesky Ling run-bys are incredibly annoying. Fungal growth now on these units because of it. Mutas do fly forward as well. They decide to just fly through all of the medevacs. A lot of Widow Mines left, right, and center. New command center set up over here as well in the middle of the map. But now Clem's supply count is taking a nosedive. There's vision all over the map. But somehow it feels like neither player has really been able to scout very much. It's kind of ironic, right? They have so much movement, but still they've been able to hide things from the opponent. You can tell, right? Like, normally, I think Clem wins the majority of his Terran versus Zerg ladder games just by sheer multitasking. And likewise, Serral as well. He will win the majority of his ladder opponents, right? He will win the majority of the games against Terran just by being the faster player. But then when you have two really fast players going up against one another, and the multitasking alone is not going to be enough, it becomes an entirely different game to play. Right now, I think Clem is starting to really feel the heat. He was in a phenomenal spot earlier, but Serral has managed to grab things under his control yet again. Clem unable to max out. It's a very different approach than what a lot of the Korean Terran versus Zerg currently looks like. Players like Björn, players like Kjör, they're building up 1 million command centers. This is the very active style that I personally love. So much harder to play, though, just across the board. Fungal growth is left, right, and center once again, man. And it just feels like you can't really go anywhere right now as the Terran, because Zerg appears to be everywhere. Maybe the orbital command can live. It's a little hard to say. But we do not have a proper transition. We do not have a proper transition towards Ghosts or Liberators or any of the late game units that you really need here as Terran. And because of this, well, he sees the microbial shrouds. And I guess for Clem, that's enough. GG. Not just any GG from Clem, but a micro GG. You'll love to see it. Okay, that takes us to Ruby Rock. Game 4 in this best of 5 series. It's again a pretty conservative start right here for the young Frenchman. Serral, though. He's still pretty young, right? I mean, he used to be young, though. That's kind of the thing, right? So when Serral, or when Clem rather, first got good at the game, he was very young. He was like 15. How old is Clem right now? Can we still call him the young Frenchman? He's 24. Yeah, not really. Nah, that's practically middle-aged. Okay, maybe not. No, maybe not. Still pretty young. I guess young is relative, right? As a matter of fact, if you're wondering whether or not you're old, it's a pretty easy formula. So it's Loco's current age plus 1 year equals old. Okay, that's how it goes. So that's an easy rule to keep in mind. At least that's the one that I use. Highly recommend it. And I guess he's younger than me, so hey. I was born in the previous millennium, dude. Yeah. Yeah. That's when the plague was still going around. It's been a little while. The Beatles were still on tour. It was all in the same millennium. Yeah. Yeah, Clem doesn't remember those days. Do you think they're also called the Beatles in France? I wouldn't be surprised if the Beatles are actually called by the French name for Beatles. I know in France, they like translating things to their own language. Anyways. Yellow submarine becomes something else entirely. Maybe it's about yellow vests. Wouldn't be surprised. Alright, anyways. It's gonna be a triple CC 111 right here. Triple hatchery right here for Serral. Je habite on a Jean submarine. Okay, fine. I won't do that. I won't do that to you. You know, nobody needed to hear that. Really, me casting games over the years has mostly just become me making jokes to myself in a room. It's really a little bit pathetic, I think. Sometimes I'm casting games with the window open, and I guess the neighbors must be cringing pretty bad. What about Serral's drones, though? Are they gonna be cringing pretty bad? Nope. They'll be fine. Nobody died. Nothing happened. It looked a little scary for just a moment, but nothing really happened. Overlord Scout. Apparently, about 4:45 is the new 3:45. Normal Overlord Scout timing used to be about 3:45 to 4 minutes. Now with everything being slowed down a bit, it's about a minute later. About 45 seconds later. Yeah, Serral's happy with what he's seen. So, no shenanigans again with Terran mech. I'm a little bit surprised, right? Considering how smooth... how smooth... Let me try that again. Considering how smooth game number 1 went, I really would have expected Clem to go Terran mech at least another time. But maybe that was just like a one-off build? These are also maps that are a lot more discovered, I guess. Some of the maps in this series are, yeah, a little different. This is nice, though, here for Clem. I guess he's making the assumption that Serral wouldn't go Burrowed Roaches a second time around, but honestly, you can't really predict that anyways. I don't mind it. Okay. It's time to dance. Who has got the better dancing ability here? Don't lose the Banshees. Nice little bit of dancing here by the Banshees. They killed 1 queen. Good night, Brenda. So far, only a single Hellion has died. Zergling run by. We could have lifted the depot. SCVs are going to get pulled, though, just for the swift cleanup. And nothing died. Well, I mean, a bunch of Zerglings and maybe a few Marines, but very acceptable losses. Honestly, maybe even favorable there for the Terran. Ironically, right? Like, you make the mistake, and then you kind of get paid for it, too. On the other hand, I guess you could have accidentally lost, like, 4 workers, and nobody would have been surprised. You lose control. Little changeling. Snipe down immediately. All right. We'll be going up towards Ultralisks very rapidly. Looks like the Banshees did now finally die. Yep. Both of them are now gone. Revenge for Brenda. These 2 queens do have a confirmed kill. What about the Hellions now over on the left side? Yeah, I gotta say, Serral looks less sharp so far this game. At least the control against the Hellions seems to be reactive rather than proactive. Overlord positioning here is suboptimal. He doesn't know that the units are there. Like, he has to have an Overlord over here. But he's slipping a couple of the basics here. It's not a huge deal. It may not even really affect the outcome of the game very much. But usually those are exactly the things that Serral is very good against. I guess he's been pulling back the Overlords early to try and deal with, well, any potential OV losses. Reinforcing medevac drop, heads on over. Pushing into this particular 4th base here on Ruby Rock, not easy for Terran. I'm a little bit surprised to see Clem even attempting this kind of attack. Looks like all the units over on the left side did die, and that is rough for Terran. You really don't want to be losing that. Baning speed done. Baiting them into the direction of the siege tank, though. Normally, there's 2 tanks with this push. What happened to the second? Buddy! What are you doing here? Ay, ay, ay. You were supposed to be on the other side, man. Yeah, things generally speaking are better in 2s, right? 2 siege tanks. 2 towers. Like, imagine the second Lord of the Rings book if there was only Saruman. It would be far less interesting. Yeah, this is now allowing Zerg to clean all of this up. I think, honestly, if the second siege tank was across the map, the hatchery here would have died. Counterattack over here in the meantime, though, in the bottom left. This is a good snipe. Actually, there's probably many things that are better. Just singular, rather than multiples. Tanks are not one of them, but... Ooh, fungal growth, not really hitting much. What would be the worst thing to have 2 off? I don't know. I can come up with some ideas, but they're not entirely appropriate for the... Medevac drops over here I have to pick up. Medevacs over here, though, on the right side of the map, are entirely empty. No more juice. Infestor doesn't have juice either. Oh, man. Okay. He does decide to, honestly, ultimately run away. We should really snipe this one down, too. Yeah. This harassment is all really, really nice. Look at the cost effectiveness so far of the Terran army. But again, looming on the horizon, the light at the end of Serral's tunnel here is an Ultralisk cavern. We've seen Clem being hesitant to make the swap on over. Serral's slowly adding on more and more infestors. Because of their auto attack, they're less likely to wander forward. So you can do another fungal just like this. And then when the ultras are out, microbial shroud, fungal growths with ultras, you need a reliable counter. I think sitting around on liberators and ghosts, or lack of those 2 units, is dangerous, man. We should at least be getting a second starport now. 2-2, just about done here for Clem. It's always good when Terran is ahead in supply, when 2-2 finishes. Serral's got 2-2 on the horizon as well, together with Adrenal Glands. He's attempting a Zergling, Baneling, or Rollby in the meantime over on the right side of the map, but... we gotta pick up, I think. Would not mind seeing these units get picked up. Ah, no, we don't need to pick up. Man, this hatchery has been cancelled like 7 times. Maybe 6 times. Okay. Ultimately, banelings do connect. It's mostly because there's multiple fights happening all over the map. But Serral has been trying desperately to be a 5-base Zerg now for a while. Instead, it's been 4 bases versus 4 bases. And you know what? Clem doesn't mind sniping this yet again. I don't think there's enough left over, though. Nah. Okay, so, Ultras. There they are. 500 health. We're missing an armor upgrade and chitinous plating. It's gonna be a while until they're actually really useful, but I guess they're still just a threatening presence. That alone will be good enough. Clem doesn't care. Clem is not scared of bugs that are the size of a freaking house. Doesn't bother him one bit, man. Growing up in the French countryside does that to you. I don't know what sort of wildlife they have, but I bet it's wild life. All right, ultimately, though, he does have to get out. Yeah. So, ghosts are a necessity. He did make a ghost academy. So, I'm assuming we're going to be pumping some of those out momentarily, but this does slow the game down, right? Like, you give your opponent time to breathe, and he knows that Adrenal Glands is going to be done soon, and Zork is going to be starting up 3-3. This 5th base that you've been denying all the mid-game long is finally going to go up then too, so you're a bit hesitant now as the Terran, but I think the time has come. I think the time has come to, he disagrees, to make the swap on over. There we go. 1 little ghosty boy. 2 little ghosty boys. Not a bad choice. Queen's outranging. Ooh, just barely the Liberator. Nice snipe as well on one of the Infestors. Liberator survives with 9 HP. Fight in the bottom left. Still good enough here for the Terran, but we should probably be backing off. Oh, unloading in a very spicy spot. Just a handful of Corruptors. Clem once more, man. Dude, if you put this guy in a Formula 1 car, he's never gonna slow down. I'm pretty sure Clem doesn't even know cars have brakes. Once this man starts accelerating, he just does not stop. It's insane. He's shifting gears up in the corners. Incredible, though, because he does snipe another base, despite the fact that he's got the inferior army composition. You do have to be careful, because these fights are becoming less cost-efficient now. You can tell, right? Like, the amount of army that we've had, it used to be heavily in favor of Terran. Now, because of the Ultras, the Corruptors here as well, it just becomes more and more difficult. And he doesn't know exactly where the Infestors are, but he's happy to let the Marauders tank a bunch of those Baneling hits. That was a lot of losses, though, on the side of the Terran. New hatchery coming up in the upper right-hand corner yet again. But yeah, I think this is when we have to take a page out of the Korean Terran Player's Handbook. I think this is when we go Command Center. And then another Command Center. And then when that Command Center... we make another Command Center. Like, really, when you think about it, every 6 Marines that have died this game could have been a Command Center, you know? And when you put it like that... we're like 20 Command Centers late. At least that's what Kieran and Bjorn are thinking right now. They're like, wait a second, I could have made so many. Planetary Fortress is quite nice, though. We'll probably have another planetary all the way up here. But now Serral has got a bit of time to breathe. That does a couple things. First off, he can obviously get his economy up. Secondly, though, he can start spreading creep again. And third, probably most importantly, his Infestors are gonna get a lot of energy now for Fungals. He was starting to run out of juice. I don't know if he's got the money to really be blowing up planetaries, though. Almost a Baneling short. Does get the job done, but that was quite expensive. Keep in mind, this is not a Zerg player who's particularly rich. EMP there onto the Infestor. The animation has become a lot more obvious. And ultimately, yep, with that EMP, He's going to be able to close in on the hatchery and snipe it down. Man, we really only have a handful of ghosts. This is such an active playstyle. So bloody hard to play like this, though, as Terran, but I like this so much better than the turtling up to 1 million command centers. It's also just way more fun to play. And that is something that Clem will be taking into consideration. Obviously, winning is the main goal. You gotta do whatever it takes to win, but Clem certainly is somebody that plays video games for fun. Command Center does die here as well. And that now means that Clem has actually been reduced to a lot of losses, right? Like, he just doesn't... he's been reduced. His economy really has taken a hit. From having 5 mining bases to now being forced to fly your natural on over to the left side of the map. It's becoming a bit... It's becoming a bit desperate now. Serral may have had a pretty rough start in this game, but once again, he's doing Serral magic. Trying to break through all of this. He did pay a pretty steep price, though, getting all of these bases down. All he needs to do now is defend against these pushes. Is there still enough left over? Fungal growth over here is nice. Normally hitting the Metavex is not ideal, but there it is. Serral yet again. After being in a world of trouble in like the first, I want to say 80% of the game, ultimately manages to stabilize it. It's kind of crazy actually how this series turned out, because game number 1 was so incredibly dominant by Clem. Right? Serral didn't even do anything there that went remotely his way. Game number 2 was also incredible for Clem, other than the fact that he lost all of his Hellions early on and then was like 25 workers behind. Like, he played some of the very best Terran you could have possibly played, but that is just such an impossible deficit to overcome that you just, yeah, end up in a situation that is nearly unplayable. He managed to make it close, but then ultimately he loses the series 3-1. I feel like all of these games were really, really good for Clem, but then Serral is just ever so slightly better. GG.